Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the traditional territory of Algonquin peoples, including Beaver House First Nation and unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 be approved as circulated. And finally, that section 33 of procedural bylaw 15075 as amended be lifted for matters noted under section 4 petitions and delegations only, to relax the rules on discussion between members and the public, and also to allow administration to openly participate in the discussion where required.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted this evening. Item number 4, petitions and delegations, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Dykens.
Be it resolved that there are delegations of the Lake Minor Hockey Association, KLMHA, extension of spring ice and future of association be received for information purposes.
Thank you. And we will now welcome Kirkland Lake Minor Hockey Association, extension of spring ice and future of the association, President Christopher Spadetto. Sorry. You may proceed, ma'am.
Hi, guys. Don't mind me, I'm just going to read this because it's easier for me. Honorable Mayor and council members, my name is Crystal Spadetto. I'm the president of Kirkland Lake Minor Hockey Association. I'm here today to respectfully request that the town council consider the proposal that will be before you momentarily. It asks you to keep the ice in at the Joe Mavernack Community Complex until April 27th, 2025. As a valued community space, the rink plays a vital role in promoting healthy recreational opportunities, fostering community engagement, and supporting local youth, families, and organizations. Before diving into the reasons for our request, I want to share a little bit of information with you about our association. 10 years ago, when I joined the board with KLMHA, there was only one representative team left in U9. And that was the last year that we had a rep team until about 4 years ago, when we began to work at rebuilding our rep programming. Today, we have 2 successful established teams at the U11 and U13 divisions. We have plans in place to ice a 3rd and an application for a 4th team that we're hoping to run next season. Since last season, there was also a new policy put in place. It's called the Freedom of Movement. We now have something called the Freedom of Movement throughout the Northern Ontario Hockey Association. Freedom of movement allows any player, rep or house league, to play for any association they wish to play for. In the past, if our association offered the same level of play, the player would not be able to obtain a release to play on a team of the same divisional carding unless they were to move their home address. Freedom of movement isn't necessarily a bad thing for our association, as we can open our programming to anyone as well. But if our programming is lacking in areas such as spring tryouts that our neighboring associations offer, we cannot expect players from our community to wait until the fall to be able to try out for their representative teams, especially when they can travel less than 1 hour to obtain the programming that they're looking for. Here are some of the reasons for us to request the ice to stay in. 1, community impact. The ice rink is a central hub for recreational activities, including hockey, figure skating, and public skating. These activities are not only a source of entertainment, but also contribute to the physical health, social cohesion, and mental well-being. 2, youth development. The ice rink is essential for local youth sports programs. Removing the ice prematurely would disrupt the training and competitive schedules of these young athletes, who rely on consistent access to practice and play. Also, Keeping the ice in will allow the time for our preparation skates and evaluations, and it will mean that KLMHA has the ability to offer the same opportunities to our players, and they won't look to other associations in our district that offers this program. All teams hosting spring evaluations must hold a minimum of 4 skills sessions, which are referred to as preparation skates, before being able to conduct our player evaluations, which are often referred to as tryouts. After skills sessions, there must be a minimum of 3 on-ice evaluations before we can release any players. Number 3, accessibility for all ages. Public skating times offer an opportunity for people of all ages to enjoy the facility. Keeping the ice in allows for more families to enjoy these opportunities well into the spring while we are in between seasons here in Kirkland Lake, supporting an inclusive and active lifestyle. Projected community success, which is number 4. Representative teams have opposing teams that must travel and stay at least one night, as many teams play 3 games each other over 2 days for regular season play. This means they support our local businesses. They stay at our hotels, eat at our restaurants, and use other town facilities like the swimming pool. Just between 2 representative teams, you are looking at a minimum of 12 nights that at least 14 families are spending the night here in town. Next season, we are projecting that we will ice 3, maybe 4 representative teams. Players coming into Kirkland Lake to rent our ice for spring teams attend our planned skills sessions, which are open to any player in the NOHA, and participate in our formal evaluations, will also use our facilities and give patronage to our local businesses. In conclusion, we understand that maintaining the ice comes with costs and logistical considerations. However, we believe that the benefits of keeping the ice in far outweigh these challenges, especially in terms of the positive social, economic, and health-related outcomes for our community. We ask that the council consider allocating the necessary resources to continue to support this important service for our entire community. Also, we cannot stress enough the importance of the ice staying in for our association to be able to complete our evaluations in the spring. We truly will not be able to compete with the other associations in our district who offer spring ice and rep team programming, which will once again mean the inevitable decline in player retention in our community, resulting in fewer hockey teams, which then in turn means less ice time for that will be used by KLMHA in our regular season as well. Thank you for your time and your attention to this matter. We all look forward to your thoughtful consideration and support in ensuring the ongoing accessibility of this vital community asset. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Owens, then Council Ranger.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I want to thank you for coming. I know it's not always easy speaking in front of us. Seem to be intimidating at times. I just want you to know you have my full support on this one. I think whatever puts the name or the brand Kirkland Lake out there is a good thing for the community. I wasn't part of council in 2017 when this decision was made to revert back, but I think I will be supporting this when it comes back to us later on in the meeting.
Councillor Ranger.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Crystal. Thank you for coming. It was a great presentation. I liked reading it ahead of time. I wasn't aware of the new release rules. I think that's great. So I just need clarification and then I have a question.
Yeah.
Can any youth from outside of our community come to your the skills testing, or is the expectation that they be coming to do those to take back to their potential rep communities?
Right. So anyone that has insurance through the NOHA can come to our evaluations. So the way it works is you pay $40 and that includes your 4 skills sessions plus your tryouts. So it's up to them if they want to come and participate in our tryouts. They don't have to. They can, most do, because you get an extra 7 ice times for $40. Well, it's a really good deal. So most do, but it's definitely open to everybody. That's why, last year we did lose a lot of players because they went to New Whiskards and they were open for everybody and they said, hey, you're really good, come and join our team. We'd like you to stay, and they stayed. And I don't blame them. And but if we're not offering it, then we can't complain about it. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay, and then my question to you is, would you want council to consider the deadline or your ice request extension to not be an extension, but for us to look at the ice being open until April 27th approximately going forward, so that the community complex budget would have it as part of their regular budget line. Is this something you would want us to look at? Because you want to continue offering this program going forward?
So that's the goal. You know, this year we only asked for the extension right now because, you know, baby steps, we have to think about the future as well. But, you know, if we don't have this approval for this season, then it kind of lets us know that there's nothing to plan for the future. But right now, as of right now, yes, we all feel really strongly that we can rebuild the rep programming. I mean, Kirkland Lakes Hockey Town, we all know someone from here that's gone pretty far to play hockey. So we do want to be able to keep our talent in town, and it really does benefit the community. So having that, it's an extra 3 weeks, or I think it's on an extra 20 days. So I really do think that it'd be beneficial moving forward if it's included, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Counselor Kylie and then Counselor Owen.
Through you, your worship. Crystal, I want to thank you for coming out today. I can tell by your enthusiasm that minor hockey is on the upswing. We've had some, I'd say, difficulties with getting teams put together over the years, but with your leadership, I'm sure we'll be going ahead fast forward. So thank you for your efforts and the time you've committed.
Thank you.
Counselor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. I'm really glad you explained the freedom of movement, because when I was involved in minor hockey for more than 30 years, unless you were going from B to A or double A or triple A, we could, in theory, stop you from leaving. So I'm glad you explained that. I don't know why the NLHA thought that was a good idea. I really don't. But I do have some questions about,
Sure.
and this really doesn't play about spring tryouts. What if you move here in the summer and you're a really good player? Does that mean you can't try out for the rep team?
It doesn't, it means you can't try out because our tryouts are over, but it doesn't mean your opportunity of you playing for that representative team doesn't exist anymore. Because, you know, like if someone comes to town and say they're a AAA player from Toronto and they come to town and, you know, they're playing on the house league team because they've missed every other opportunity. You know, as an association, when we see that player playing, we would essentially ask them to bump up and play with us. So it's, you know, that's really what it comes down to.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was involved, spring tryouts weren't a thing.
Yeah,
The only other comment I have, and it really doesn't have anything to do with minor hockey or the way I'm gonna vote, I would like to see an accounting this year of the extended period, because the recommendation to cut out the shoulder periods came from, I believe it was KPMG, the consultant that we hired. And the reason they gave it was to save money on non-essential services. Now, if this comes up that we're only gonna lose $1,000 maximum, I can live with that. But I'd like to see the actual figures, and like I say, that's for council more than our delegate. Thank you,
thanks.
and keep
Council.
working for minor hockey.
Thank you.
Counselor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Crystal. Thank you for your excellent presentation. I don't see it as a loss. I see it as an investment in our youth, in our community. I know there's a great group of people who are doing great things for the kids of our community. So I will fully support this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Shaba. Oh, sir, you are muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yeah, to you, Madam Chair, to the presenter, thank you very much. I've been in your shoes back in the days when I used to run Kirkland Lake Soccer Association. I understand all the challenges. Thank you for all your good work. My question is to Madam Clerk. The question is, did we not get this similar request last year from this association?
So Madam Clerk will speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Yes, Counselor Shaba, this is a returning request that has been supplemented by a report from community services for the last 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? I do want to reiterate, all the voices around the table, we thank you for coming. And we do definitely, we're excited for your endeavors. I think with your leadership, you're going to make great change. So this is incredible. Thank you so much.
Thanks, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations. Item 5.1, council minutes moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of council held February 18th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5.2, committees of council minutes moved by Councillor Kylie, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the Tech Pioneer Residents Committee of Management held December 16th, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 5.3, local and regional board minutes moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board special meeting held October 29th, 2024, and regular meeting held January 23rd, 2025, and minutes of the District of Temiskaming Social Services Administration Board of Directors held January 22nd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. Item 6.1, 2025 corporate business plan moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the report number 2025 CAO 004 entitled 2025 corporate business plan be received for information.
Thank you. This will be presented by Alan Smith, the Chief Administrative Officer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. The Town of Kirkland Lake's 2025 corporate business plan aligns operational initiatives with the strategic priority areas contained within the corporate strategic plan. It integrates annual departmental business plans, aiming for flexibility, adaptability, and continuous improvement to meet the community needs. The plan also informs the budget to support projects and initiatives aligned with the corporation's strategic priorities, ensuring a structured and coordinated approach towards organizational success and addressing community needs effectively. Now, when reviewing the corporate business plan initiatives, these are aligned with service excellence, sustainable core services, infrastructure, and vibrant and prosperous community, which are the 4 strategic priority areas. However, for a more detailed account of each supporting project initiative can be viewed within each department's business plan. I'd like to thank members of the senior management team for putting their department business plans together during this busy time, and the strategic initiatives coordinator for drafting the 2025 corporate business plan. If council has questions, the director for that department will step forward to answer.
Thank you. Before I open the table for questions and comments, I do have some of my own. I am glad to see the organizational review to access points of contacts with residents and review of non-core services, realizing the strains of upcoming budget. I support the idea that we need to take a serious look at our corporate organization and the services we provide to ensure we balance the delivery of services versus the cost to ratepayers. In the future, I would like to see a form perhaps developed in which community members who deal with our staff can provide feedback to ensure we are not measuring our service excellence only using our rulers and our meter sticks. Cultural services should have, just a note, cultural services may remove mention of the museum as it's no longer part.
I think there was just one
Just that one,
comment.
yeah.
There's one
Yeah.
charge still left over.
Yeah.
so.
Sorry, that was supposed to be a note for earlier. I am very enthusiastic reading the broad scale and involved plans for developmental services. Now is the time to seize the opportunity of having an ED who is eager to expand Kirkland Lake's economy. This department is truly an investment in our future. And lastly, the GPS tracking. It's brilliant to see this coming up to be implemented. This issue has been floating around since campaign elections in 2018. So congratulations on that. Overall, I want to commend the CAO and administration on this plan, and I look forward to seeing what is accomplished for our community in 2025. So congratulations on the effort. Opening to council members, any questions or comments? Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it is something that I want to follow up on what you said on, not sure which page it is, because I took a screenshot and took notes. It's where municipal election prep work is on that column there, access points of contact with residents, identify ways to streamline communication, increase stakeholder. There we go. Engagement, demonstrate user friendliness, and provide optimal services. It goes in the same direction you were saying, having surveys or QR codes that you can fill out, and how they do, like you go to the hospital when you're all over, you can get them on the Facebook page. I think it's a way to get not just certain times a year, throughout the entire year, where we can have feedback from our customers. But other than that, it's a strong business plan, and it was a good read.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted. All in favor? Opposed? Very unanimous. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to ask finance chair. I was gonna say acting mayor, but no, not today. Finance chair Janice Ranger to take this.
6.2, the 2025 operating and capital budget, Lloyd Crocker, treasurer. Yeah, can I have a mover? Mayor White and Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 Corp 008 entitled 2025 Operating and Capital Budget be received for information, and finally that a public meeting be held in relation to 2025 town budget and presented on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 4:40 p.m.
All in favor?
No.
Oh, wait, does.
Or discussion.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Lloyd, table's yours.
I should have a few
Oh, you.
comments prior.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Through Madam Chair to council. Administration's first attempt at a draft budget over the past few weeks and months. We have produced an increase in the municipal tax levy approaching 30%. Staff were directed to make tough decisions through 2 and 3 rounds of departmental budget reviews. The end result is presented for council's review, which entails a municipal tax levy increase of approximately 10.3%, which includes all capital and operating activities. Now, I do want to stress, this was not an easy figure to arrive at. Many difficult decisions had to be made. But at the end of the day, the proposed budget that is presented today maintains services which residents currently enjoy, while incorporating new initiatives that meet the strategic priority areas contained within the corporate strategic plan of service excellence, sustainable core services, infrastructure, and being a vibrant and prosperous community. However, if council wants to substantially reduce this rate, then services will have to be cut with employees being terminated, and possible reduction in needed capital projects might be necessary. To undertake this process would take time. If council decides to use more reserves, members will need to be careful not to affect the cash flow ability of the corporation and also its ability to undertake important capital projects. However, I do want to stress, as I previously mentioned, the 10.3% increase, proposed increase, does maintain services while speaking to the future needs of the community. We cannot become stagnant in our approach to how we govern the corporation. We need to look to the future needs of the corporation and Kirkland Lake residents through transparency and service excellence while striving to realize the corporation's vision of being the right environment for you, diverse, thriving, and efficient. I do want to thank staff for all their hard work in producing the proposed budget that is being tabled today. I also want to acknowledge the many hours that the treasurer, deputy treasurer spent developing the various draft budgets that resulted in the one we present today. Thank you, Lloyd and Bart. I also want to give a big shout out to the clerk and her team for the planning and the organizing of the budget meetings, and also the marketing and advertising of the budget process. I'll turn things over to the treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the rest of the council. So you have before you the introductory report to the budget process. The package you have is very dense, an awful lot of materials. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at it. The process itself, you've all been through before. We start back in December, where all of the directors are tasked with coming up with their original budgets, which are brought together to talk about the overall effect. And as the CAO mentioned, we go back 2 or 3 times to kind of revisit some of those decisions, some of the services, some of the choices, strategic and tactical in nature. And we end up where we are today. I'd like to highlight a few things. Some of it's obviously in the report, but I might expand a little bit on a couple of those items. If you'd like to ask questions about the report, I'd be very happy to talk about that. And as mentioned earlier, if there's some, concern about where this is, and of course there is a concern at 10.3%. If we want to change the process, tonight would be a good time to talk about that, in a fulsome way. And anyways, so the report itself, I'm not going to regurgitate it, but there are a couple things on there I'd like to emphasize again. So on page 2, you'll see we talk about the forecasted reserve funds, obligatory reserves. This is very significant this year. The obligatory reserves are the funds that we receive from different levels of government, primarily for capital purposes. They give us the money and they say, we expect you to spend the money in certain areas. They're very healthy. We're well positioned to move into some of the capital projects that have been identified as part of both the infrastructure and the sorry, I can't think of the word, equipment plans that were put in front of you recently. In that sense, we're very well positioned to kind of start moving on those things. The other reserves, many of them are basically down to a very low level. Some of that was through the decision making we went through last year, where we moved some of the things off of the tax roll from those reserves, both through the one-time process to reduce the tax rate, and some of the capital items were moved around as well. So we still have reserves. We have several reserves that are very specific. We have some that are a little more generic in nature. My comment overall is we're still pretty healthy financially, but there's not an awful lot of room to be relying on reserves to take care of any kind of tax rate challenges that we have. You'll see there's already $650,000 built into this budget to draw down from the working capital reserve. That'll put us in a position where it's my opinion that we don't really want to go much lower than that. There's some effects that come. That reserve isn't a direct relationship to cash or anything else on our balance sheet, but it's kind of an accumulation of the prior year's surpluses. But it's a bit of an indicator how we're doing. And it also, by keeping that reserve at a healthy level, it does help us plan around our cash flows and some of our other budget challenges. It's primarily an operating reserve. We've had to use it a couple of times over the last year or two to kind of plug holes as things come up. We've all seen those reports during the year, decisions you've made. So it gets hit a little bit when we run into odd scenarios or unplanned scenarios. Yeah, so that's kind of my comment. The numbers you see in front of you are very much draft numbers. They do not reflect the 2024 adjustments. Some of them will move around just because of the capital budget until we finalize how all the projects came in. And again, you know, we were waiting for invoices right up until basically a week ago. So the capital stuff is still being worked on, and that will change some of these reserves. It's not usually for the good, but you never know. So there's, you know, a little discussion there about reserves I threw in there. I had big plans to have all kinds of pretty pictures and stuff, but we just ran out of time going back and forth on the budget several times. So, there is one very important change here that we haven't incorporated in our budget that I can tell for a very long time, and that's the assessment change. In the past, we've had a very static assessment, very little changes. You know, we might have a little bit of growth, but we may lose a little bit. So in the last couple of years, we've had some industrial growth. And what I've done is I've incorporated a number of $400,000 as part of the budgeted revenue in the taxation line. And that's to reflect the fact that we're already aware of 2 additions in assessment. And that's, you know, it's my back of the envelope calculation. We won't know until we finish the budget process because the new assessment is capped based on a very complicated opta calculation. So, you know, I think we're going to get about $400,000 more of taxation revenue from the new assessment we have in the system right now. And that's built into the budget. So everyone understands that. Public meeting, again, there's a nice little discussion there, which is very fulsome. You'll be seeing the presentations on Thursday, where each of the directors will give their piece about, give you some idea of what they're facing and what their plans are. The budget survey. So this one's, again, a disappointment for me. Not in the sense that we have people who are engaging. We had 85 responses, 86 actually, one of them was unusable. We had 85 responses. The tool we used this year created some challenges for us. When you did the survey, if you weren't careful in scrolling and following through on the survey, some of the tables in the middle, which talked about the ranking that you see here, the table wasn't shown in complete right on your window. You had to scroll over to see a couple of the columns. And I think that affected the results somewhat. There's some of those columns that I think we would have had a little bit more take up or commentary on. So statistically, we can't rely on what we're seeing here. We've put in some ranking because there were some very clear, obvious choices about what people wanted and what they didn't want. But statistically, there's not much to take away from it. We also put in the comments, and there's a lot of good information in there, a lot of strong information about how people feel about what we're doing here and the things that they think we should be looking at and addressing. So it was still a useful process. It's just from an accounting point of view or statistical point of view, it's a little disappointing. There's a couple of departments that I'll just throw out a couple of quick comments on. And so, I mean, Development Enterprise Services, Dan will talk extensively. I'm going to emphasize the 2 departments that changed fairly drastically in the budget, if you don't mind. So he has a very fulsome and complete discussion around this. But there is a decision you guys need to make around that MAT tax and the reserve, the town portion of the reserve. And that could be part of our solution or our answer to try and bring the tax rate down. You know, the Development and Tourism Department, the Planning Department is also responsible for some of the Development and Tourism Plan. So right now, we don't have that in the budget, but you should, I think you should consider that as part of the changes you may want to consider. Corporate services. So this is, you'll see there's a big swing here, and that's primarily in Treasury. And that's driven by some outside forces that I'd like to say we could control, but we don't. In the last few years, we've had very healthy interest rates on our cash balances. You know, COVID drove interest rates really sky high. And so we benefited a great deal from that, earned an awful lot of interest income. But that's changed now, as we're probably all aware, the last two Bank of Canada announcements reduced the rate. So we're expecting that to go down. Our cash balance has gone down some, which is kind of a reflection of this time of year. But that drop in interest rates at the Bank of Canada, which flows through to the banks themselves and make their own decisions about what rate they're willing to pay on investments. There's no way they're gonna keep it at the previous rate, so we're being realistic here. Unfortunately, we have to pay for the realism of our economy. Police services, we've all saw what could have happened there, what didn't happen there. It's still a pretty substantial increase, $117,000. I'd like to add in a bit of a warning in the 2024 information they gave us and the 2025 request. They did very clearly mention that there was going to be a 2024 adjustment that flows through at we'll see it probably late 2025 when they start talking about the 2026 bill. Given the increase in the normal billing process, I don't expect that number to be positive in any way. They've gone out and had to do substantial retro payments. Some of that's gonna flow back to us. It's not in 2025, but it's coming. So the water and wastewater budgets, you'll see it kind of slowed down the change in rates process a little bit. It was just we found last year, we were just running around making mistakes and trying to get stuff in front of you in the same timeline as the budget. But the rates that are built into there are from the asset management plan. They're reflective of what was been calculated, updated, recalculated, submitted to you guys now. You've seen 3 different reports. So those rates are based on, their best estimate, our best estimate of what we need to be putting away in reserves to help with the water and wastewater systems, the capital portions. And I guess one other comment on my part, under other charges, the DSAP. So the DSAP, right now, the budget is showing the increase that they've informed us about. We received $193,000 refund last year. We could use a very large chunk of that refund to offset the increase if we wanted to. It's much like the health unit one that we've had in the past where we put it in a reserve and then kind of drew it down. And I didn't build it into the budget. My assumption is you'll be open to the idea, but I'd like to have a little bit of a discussion about how much of it you want to use. So again, I'm just pointing that out. That's basically everything that I wanted to point out in the report itself. There is a ton of detail in here. Every department has its breakdown. We kind of prepare. I'm happy to answer questions tonight about the overall report, the overall position. Again, if you want to go in a different direction, which the materials you were provided give you some kind of direction on how you might want to approach that. Again, your council. It's entirely up to you how you come forward with this. So you take questions.
I'm gonna have the I see Vlad has a question, but I'm gonna have the mayor go first. And then Vlad, I'll follow with you, okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, I have some notes and some answers maybe I'd like to see during the presentations later on. I do want to note that it was interesting in community services, they noted a 6% decrease primarily as a result of the closure of the museum operations offset by cost of living and union wage increases. So that's something that I wanted the public to take note of. A 16.6% increase at TPR due to labor costs. As well, I believe council hopefully will be given the opportunity to review the bylaw 19-071, being a bylaw to establish a reserve fund for the purpose of maintenance and upkeep for the Kinross Trails Park in memory of past Mayor Bill Enoy, before we decide as part of the wider budget process to remove funds from that reserve. For a capital expenditure, there was specific, it was set up in a specific way, so I'd like a fulsome discussion possibly during budget process for that. I also do want to thank the 85 community members who took the time to fill out the budget survey that was available for 2 months or 3 months, December 18th to February. I believe it represents a strong voice regarding the budget process and what the people who take the time to engage with the town want to see as priorities moving forward. I appreciate their input and believe they should be commended for being part of that process. We're seeing numbers of engagement increase, and I just really always want to encourage that. On that note, in the results of the budget survey, the preferred method of balancing the budget is introducing new fees and increasing current fees. But I'd like to know, how realistic is it to believe we could balance our budget or make a significant impact by doing those two things? And it was a drastic increase in operating over last year, so I think that should be spoken to again as we move forward. So my question, is the position of maintenance assistant full-time at TPR borne across all departments or solely at TPR as it was included in their budget notes? So clarification would be really appreciated on Thursday or in the future. Then the reinstatement of the economic development manager, which now will be titled Economic Development and Tourism Marketing Coordinator, I personally believe is vital to Kirkland Lake. When we look at New Liskeard and Timmins, they have presence at so many industry conferences, including right now PDAC. As one of the most prolific mining camps, Kirkland Lake should be representative, not only at those kind of gatherings, but developers meetings among so many others, and taking the opportunities to sell our communities to the outside world. And with a devoted staff in that area, we can have the ability to seize those opportunities. So with that, just to let everyone know, when the time arises, I will be moving to have the Economic Development and Tourism Marketing Coordinator to be funded from the town's portion of the MAT reserves and or invoicing services to the town of Kirkland Lake Tourism Development Corporation when the time comes. And then my last interest is there is a $34,000 line item in the budget regarding the Kirkland and District Health Center. I would certainly appreciate some information about this partnership or budget line item come to council, as in the 6 years that I've been here, there has been no discussion on that item. So thank you for that. I know it was a long list, and I do apologize, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Shaba. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. To you, Madam Chair, to the director, thank you very much for all the work that is staff put into this. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have a general statement and I have a question, and I'll leave the rest till we meet again next week. I don't think that I will support a double-digit municipal tax increase. I will not, and I'm glad to hear that this is just the beginning. It's a draft, and we're gonna have to roll up our sleeves and get going to make sure that we get down to something that everybody, community members will be comfortable with. As we know, we are 8,000 population, and again, there's just not much to squeeze out of everybody in town anymore as it is now. My first question, I guess the mayor alluded to that, because I was hoping that since we offload the museum, that the expense associated with that will be significant enough to help us in going ahead with our municipal levy. But maybe it is, I guess the mayor spoke to that, because a decrease in one of the departments, but again, I will look at this very closely and maybe have questions down the road, but I was hoping that that will have a significant impact on this budget presentation. My second and last question is regarding page 3 of 10 of the budget survey result. I'm just trying to see clarification. The top 3 service priorities areas identify as road maintenance, snow removal, and number 3 is economic development and tourism. And then going down that page, the 3 least priority areas, again, economic development and tourism essentially showed up again. So how do we reconcile those? People want it as number 3, and then people want it as the number 5. Again, if there are no answers to that today, that's fine. I just want to get a clarification, because for me, I think the economic development of this town is utmost important. That's how we're going to grow. We have to invite people, companies to set up in town, and I concur with the mayor about our presence in some of those local trade shows and PDAC. Northern Ontario mining showcase, very important for us to be there as a mining town. But then again, those things cost money. We have to sit down and talk about what the cost would be, but I'm sure that it's worth our while. So that's it for me. And again, if I can have an answer to again, why these museum expenses not having a significant amount of impact on this. And then number 2 would be maybe this prioritization of the economic development and tourism in both 2 places. Is that very common? I don't know. But then again, I would like to see us look at that. If it's up to me, I think the economic development and tourism should be number 1. Thank you.
Councillor Shalva, Councillor Kylie.
Yeah, to review, acting worship, I have a 2-part question. First one, I didn't quite get the 190,000 that we got back from DSAP. Is that factored in as we're going to reduce their billing by 190,000?
Yeah,
It is.
No, not yet.
it's
No,
not in
not
the
yet.
budget now, that's why I made the comment, that's an option.
That's what I thought,
I
yeah.
didn't choose, my problem with not putting in the budget was I didn't know what would be the appropriate level of
Yeah.
using that refund.
Okay, and also, this might be a little late in the process, but in the past, when we got the proposed budget or draft budget, we had like the 2025 proposed draft budget and the 2024 budget, but we also had the 2024 actuals to date. I know it's late in the process and to dig that out now would probably a bit redundant, but I would have liked to have seen that included in it. We did it in the past, even though it was a best estimate, but in most cases it was probably 95% correct. But it gives you a little more objectivity on what you're looking at from say 24 to 25. Not that I don't trust the staff or anything, because there's a lot of work goes into this, I know, but it just gives me a little better feel for the process. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Owens.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I've got 2 questions, one concerning TPR and the other one concerning public health. So this year, the process for the budget for TPR was a bit different. The board of TPR got the budget ahead of time. And I had brought up in that meeting, if we go page 21 of 43 of the attachment, the numbers don't make sense to me. I brought it up in that meeting we get 2 more documents and those numbers still don't make sense to me. Every other department, there's a difference between 2025 and 2024. In this case, except for the wages who have gone up significantly, everything else is exactly the same we spent in 24 and in 25. We're told in Thursday's document that everything is going up. Cost of everything associated with TPR is going up, but that's not reflected in these numbers. How? So is it like, I've asked this twice now, like, this just does not make sense to me. Is there a possibility to have something rectified or an explanation on, like, even the donations were different last meeting, at the board meeting, and now all of a sudden they're identical in both columns. Something doesn't make sense, and this is, I hate to say it, but this is one of our. Let's say, like, this was costing us a lot of money, it's hurting us, we need to figure out, or these what's wrong with these numbers? That's number 1. Number 2, Northeastern Public Health, I was gonna do it in the councilor's presentation, but I think it's more fitting in this part. The budget process is behind on that one. From what I understand, the first budget meeting is on March 27th, which was supposed to be a regular meeting, but now it's been turned to a finance meeting to start hashing out the budget. It will not be ready by the time we pass this. From my understanding, they have sent us a preliminary billing, which is the equivalent of what we paid last year, and then there will be an adjustment afterwards. So I'm thinking whatever adjustment is sent after, so it doesn't hurt us too bad, should be taken out of that reserve fund we still have from when TH2 gave it back to us, so at least it gives us we don't get too much of a surprise down the road, so that would be my recommendation on that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Owen?
Yeah, I, as the treasurer knows, have trouble with all these graphs and charts, so I'm reading this chart here that for reserves. And it says organizational restructuring and efficiency, $229,718. Is that what we got sitting there now?
Yes.
Okay, I think we need to look at some of these reserves during our budget process, because there's another one, Parkland, $102,197. Library capital, I'm not sure the relationship anymore between the town and the library. Like, whether we should be paying their capital projects or whether they should be paying. Because they have a separate act and a separate board. Kinross, park maintenance, Billy North Memorial, $10,164. I'm not sure why we need that. Health unit, $238,265. I assume that's to pay our bill. I'm assuming, but if you could clarify that for me. So yeah, I have, and in terms of DSAB, it's not a question, but my recommendation will be that we use a significant portion of that money to bring down the DSAB bill to what it was last year. That's it. That's not enough questions for you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions from council?
Okay, so if possible, I can answer a couple of them off the top, just to, they're information questions more than they are detailed questions. The one about fees being realistic, they will not balance our budget. They're relatively small for the most part throughout each line item. But it is still a valid way to discuss, when we discuss services and how we provide them, whether or not they should be borne by the tax rates or whether they should be borne by the users to some extent. Health center, I don't have a great deal of detail other than that. It's a 50-50 model with the hospital. We share, they're funded extensively by the province, but there is some stuff that isn't funded, and we pay a portion of that. Museum savings, there was $250,000 of savings in this particular budget. So that's the specific amount that was saved, but from that decision in the current year's budget.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
About 250,000. I didn't know what cable it's on, but it's in the normal budget. You'll see the 2 years, you can just compare them straight up. And it was commented too, I think, by the Director of Community Services. TPR was really a function of us getting the information before you. Wages are by far the largest change. Some of the other changes were much smaller. We're trying to, it's a similar problem we had last year, whether I adjust the revenue lines or I adjust some of the expenditure lines. It's very difficult to get a feel for what the province is promising us at any point in time. They're always, we get letters, we say we're going to increase the funding, and we don't know where that funding is coming, going to hit us. So it looks odd, but it's really just a reflection that we know that if not all of the increase, the majority of the increase will be through the wages line. We're hoping that some of these new funds will change that. Exact same comment as last year. We saw a very large deficit. We did get quite a bit of funding this year. So, they're still planning on rolling out some more funding. Some of it is very specific to materials and supplies and stuff like that. It's just a limitation of your treasurer. It's very hard for me to kind of say that number belongs with this one when we're doing it. It's the challenges that I saw with that particular one. Public health, yes. Yeah, I think you got an email later today where the new health unit said, here's what we're doing. We already got the bill for the first 2 months based on last year, as you mentioned. And they did indicate they'd be coming back to us later in the year. The reserves, and as I said earlier, there's an awful lot of small reserves. Reserves are relatively easy to change. Reserve funds aren't. Reserve funds are driven often by very specific donations or very specific circumstances, outside funding. So you're somewhat limited in what you can spend them on. So, they have titles which point you in the right direction when you're saying that's what it's supposed to be spent on. And it's similar to reserves, but reserves are usually created by council directly. And you're earmarking some of our surpluses. So it's well within your purview to make changes within both of those groups. But some of them will be somewhat limited so the Bill Illinois one's an excellent example. There were conditions associated with that donation. So you'll see that, if we do get into some kind of detail about where you want to use or not use reserves, you may hear from me saying, can't use that one for this, or, something like that. Just a general comment on the reserve. Okay. The other questions will be prepared to kind of come with some more information. And there are comparatives. Again, it was purely my call based on what they looked like. We haven't finished 2024 year end. So it was really my call. Just some of the numbers looked a little odd and I know they needed adjustments. And I'll be honest, I'm not very good at putting information out there that I know has to be fixed. So, but we will provide something for you.
Councillor Diamond.
Thank you, Madam Finance Chair, to Treasurer. Lloyd, with the 10.3% as it stands now, how much would what amount of money would decrease it by 1%? Just ballpark.
A little bit over 130,000.
So 100.
Yeah, 135 at this point.
Okay, and we have 920,000 with the DSEB refund or whatever it's called.
193,000.
100, sorry.
Yeah.
sorry. And then, yeah, so, just, sorry, one more question.
Yes,
please.
go ahead.
The fund that we, drew from last year to, I think we drew 266,000. It was to, the mayor brought it forward. I think we had over $1 million at that point and we took out 266,000. Do we know how much is left in that fund and would we be allowed to
So-
utilize that as well?
The vast majority of so it's 1.2 million is what the numbers ended up being at the end. Approximately, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly, but the stabilization fund paid for about just around 500,000 of that. Most of the rest came from the working capital fund. Some of the 200,000 you're talking about was the capital adjustments, where we took it off of the tax roll payment and took it from different reserves and reserve funds, so it's spread between a couple of them. Not sure if that's answering your question. If it isn't, I will come with a more detailed answer.
Can I just comment?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it was the 266,000, I believe. It was from a specific fund, so I wasn't sure when you were saying you took it from here and there, and so that kind of confused me.
Okay, I'll take it. Sorry,
Okay,
it doesn't
that's
ring a
okay.
bell, but I'll look.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure. Laz, do you have a question? Okay. Any other questions?
No, I don't have any question.
Thank you, Lloyd. Yeah. Does anybody need me to have it reread, the motion? Okay. All in favor? And motion carries.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Finance Chair Ranger. I do appreciate that. And here we go for the next couple of weeks. You'll be taking the chair. So thank you very, very much. Moving on, item number 6.3, item 2024, summary of remuneration and expenses. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-8 entitled 2024 Summary of Remuneration and Expenses be received for information.
Thank you. And this will be presented by Lloyd Crawford, Treasurer. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to council. You are familiar with this report. This is the third time I've been in front of you giving it. It's pretty straightforward. It identifies monies that were paid to yourself and to councilors, both through the town and through the various boards that some of you participate on. The breakdown is in attachment 1. You'll see the different columns. The remuneration amounts are set through the new policy, which is identified in the report as well. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this.
Okay, so just before I open the floor, I did notice something new, this year in mine, it was like 500 and change. And I just want to confirm that that was the mayor's breakfast and associated costs from, public engagement. I don't know who would answer that.
So if you have, through you, Madam Mayor, through you, Madam Mayor, if you hover over the attachment, it identifies exactly what the expenses were for. The expenses for the mayor's breakfast were funneled through the economic development budget.
Okay.
So the expenses for the $500 and change, I
Yeah.
believe they're for luncheons like Georgia Pacific.
Oh, the travel for, okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you. I do appreciate that, because that was new this year. Okay, Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. I always get a little sensitive at this point in time because this is the second year in a row or second report in a row that I've been the most expensive counselor. So I'd just like to explain that I go to one conference a year. It happens to be very far away. The first time I went, it was in London. The next time it was in Ottawa. This year again, it will be in Ottawa. Now, the mayor also goes to that conference. And in order to keep costs down, the mayor and I travel together. So we're not paying for two vehicles to travel all the way to Ottawa and back. So I just want to make that clear, that that's one conference. It happens to be far away, but it's the AMO conference. And I happen to think that is an extremely important conference for us to be at, because we have access to provincial ministers. We have total access to our MPP. And it's a great networking opportunity in between sessions in terms of finding out how other communities are dealing with similar challenges that we have. So yeah, I will admit, I feel guilty about that, but trust me, I'm not wasting the taxpayers' money. I'm using it as efficiently as I can. Thank you.
Any further from members of council? Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I hover on the expenses, nothing pops up on the hovering. That's it.
There's no note?
No, there's nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so that was part one. Part two is I want to thank the CAO and I'm assuming the treasurer for the answer I got, because I asked a question last year, benefits and allowances just did not make sense to me. Read it again this year, it did not make sense to me, and finally with the came close to having a faux pas, now if it wasn't for the mayor, but even the explanation took me a while to, if I went down in the pay stub, I finally did the math and it works out and it's, yeah, it makes sense, so thank you for the information.
Did you want the information clarified for the whole of council, or?
I certainly may, yes, okay, yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay, so the benefits and allowance in my mind, because when I look at this, it looks like it's money paid to me, and it is not money paid to me whatsoever. And I couldn't figure out with the math where it was until I got the clarification, so it's the life insurance.
That's what my notes.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Life insurance, EHT, for those of you that already have a benefits plan with your employers or outside of the organization. As you know, most benefit plans don't let you double dip. So if you sign on for this one, you give up some on the other side. So the other counselors, you'll see, are higher, and that's because they participate in more of the benefit plans, including things like dental, vision, some of the other things. But you all participate in the normal CPP, Canada Pension Plan, and the employer health taxes usually mandated. So they're all paid on your behalf, which is why they're in this report.
Thank you. Any further questions? Sorry, Councillor Saba?
Yeah, thank you very much. To you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to say that just for the information of the public, that as council, we did not take any increase. We have zero increase last year, for people to know. We did not go for any increase at all. My second question is that, again, I really appreciate our mayor going to all these conferences. I appreciate her time fighting for our communities. This is not really personal, but I just want to know, all these conferences, are there any of them that the staff could take care of? Is it a past practice for the mayor to go to all of the conferences? And are there anyone, I mean, we're trying to save money here, but are there any of those conferences that the staff could take care of? That way the mayor could concentrate on the most important ones. Thank you.
So just to speak to that before any staff member speaks to that, I actually had discussions as well, because prior to last council, the council of the town of Kirkland Lake had stepped back from attending conferences, and we were the ones that kind of insisted we bring that practice back. And honestly, because of efforts of our Director of Public Works and our efforts going to conferences and delegating, I do believe that's why we got the back-to-back funding for, the Connecting Link. Our presence is important. But I do agree with you that maybe, all of our attendance may not be required. We did do a new attendance, policy or bylaw. Policy, thank you, in which we all had our budgets. So each council members had a budget and myself as mayor have a budget as well. But I do question the requirement of more than one member of council going to conference every time. Especially when we don't have delegations like at FONA. So we don't have delegations at all at that conference. I feel that it's important that somebody attends, but do we need, I believe this conference coming up, 3 of us are going. Is that a requirement? I don't think so. Is it necessary? I also don't think so. So I do agree with you there. As far as whether a staff member should represent the community rather than a member of council at these delegations, I will allow CAO Smith to speak to that.
Through Madam Mayor, to members of council. I'll give you the most recent example at Roma, where I was by myself and I delegated to the various ministries. Although it went fine, I will say that they were expecting to have elected official like the mayor by my side, okay? Usually because it is sometimes very political, and having the mayor to navigate that process is useful. Having the mayor and the CAO, that's usually the norm, or the mayor, the CAO, and then the mayor and council. But overall, I would highly recommend that elected official continue their presence at these conferences, particularly Roma and AMO.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, so your worship, just to follow up on what you said, when we go to AMO, there's 3 of us there. There's the CIO, the mayor, and myself. When we delegate, that's 3 of us in there. We certainly wouldn't want more than 3, despite the fact the government may have 6 or 9 people on the other side of the table. You don't want more than 3 people speaking. And I jokingly say that the mayor and the CAO bring the facts and I bring the passion. But the upside of that is there are now ministers in our provincial government that know who the mayor of Kirkland Lake is. They know who the CAO is, and they know one councillor. And some of those ministers that we've delegated to have specific responsibilities for Northern Ontario. And if we can build on those relationships, hopefully we can benefit from those relationships. So I believe conferences are important, but I don't believe we need, like in my mind, the mayor, 1 council member and 1 staff member, I think is plenty.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ranger?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's just a comment. I think that this council has used the word transparency as sort of our model. And we have been, in my opinion, quite fiscally responsible and transparent with the community through our meetings to express that we're looking for conferences where we had a delegation to make sure that we were putting our best foot forward and being present in those at those conferences. And I'm, as somebody who hasn't attended one yet, would want the confidence and experience of the mayor and the CAO and or their delegate, were I to choose to go to one of these conferences, to firstly listen and observe, and then to gain that experience going forward, so that we're professional, we're knowledgeable, and can advocate the best case scenarios for our community. So I think we're, as this council has been going in the right direction by attending those that are most beneficial to us, and we'll continue that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Counselor Kylie?
Yeah, through you, your worship. I appreciate what Lad's saying, but at the same time, it is so difficult to measure what you get out of these meetings. Just the fact that you're there, meeting people like Rick mentioned, ministers and whatnot, a lot of them, not a lot, but some are do represent the north. And it's good to get your face out in front of them and get to know them when they're going through these requests for proposals or whatever. That they can attach a name to it, sort of, I'm just concerned, like out of sight, out of mind. It's hard to measure, but I think it's worth it in the long run. That's my opinion.
Thank you for that. Anything further about remuneration of council members? Okay, does anybody require the reading of the motion again? No, okay. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir. Item number 6.4, Team Northern Throttle Summer Drag Races Airport Facility Use Request. May I have a mover? Councillor Owen and seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW3 entitled Team Northern Throttle Summer Drag Races Airport Facility Use Request be received. That the Director of Public Works be authorized to execute a facility use agreement with Team Northern Throttle for family events for the use of the Kirkland Lake Airport to host drag races from June 18th to 23rd, 2025 inclusive, and July 16th to 2025 inclusive. That the Director of Public Works be delegated the authority to execute future facility use agreements with Team Northern Throttle for family events on behalf of the corporation for the use of the Kirkland Lake Airport to host their annual drag race events. And finally, that an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on March 18th, 2025.
Thank you. And we welcome Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte. You may proceed, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Here tonight to present a report regarding Team Northern Throttle's request to use Kirkland Lakes Airport for their annual summer drag racing events. TNT has been a key part of our community for over 20 years, bringing motorsport enthusiasts to Kirkland Lake and contributing to our local economy. Their summer drag races held at the Kirkland Lakes Airport are well-attended events that provide entertainment for residents and visitors alike. 2025, TNT has requested the use of the airport for 2 events. June 18th to the 23rd for the first race weekend, and July 16th to the 21st for the second race weekend. During these events, the airport will be closed to aviation traffic, and as in previous years, a facility use agreement is required to ensure liability is managed and responsibilities are clearly outlined. Administration is recommending that council authorize myself, the Director of Public Works, to execute the facility use agreement with TNT for these events. Additionally, we're seeking delegated authority for the Director to execute further agreements on behalf of the corporation, ensuring a more streamlined process for these annual events. These races have become a tradition in Kirkland Lake, supporting tourism, economic activity, and community engagement. Approving this request would ensure the continuation of a successful event while protecting the town's interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from members of the board? Councillor Owen and then Councillor Dykens after.
Okay, I just want to make it perfectly clear that I totally appreciate the work that these volunteers do to bring such a big event to Kirkland Lake. And I know the relationship with past council wasn't always the best, but they certainly are in addition a welcome thing for our community, and they work very hard to do this. The question I have is the part about giving the director permission to do further agreements with them. So if I understood what you said, that means, say, they wanted to add another weekend this year, they wouldn't have to come to council? Or does that mean like in future years? I'm not quite sure what.
Well, through you to Councillor Owen, it would be to authorize a same agreement for another year, not to necessarily add any events to any particular year. But if there are no changes for the following year, similar events or two events, then I would be authorized to sign off on that instead of bringing it to council.
Thank you for that answer.
Your worship, I have no problem with that, as long as we get a report to council so that we know the drags are going on, like early on, as soon as the agreement's signed. It just saves it from writing up applications like this and doing it over and over again for the same thing. So I certainly would favor the agreement.
Thank you for that. Councillor Dykens and then Councillor Ranger.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through to the director. I definitely see the benefits to this and, the entertainment value for the people who are involved in, the contribution to our economy. But I do have a few questions or concerns. So for 12 days during the summer, the airport's not going to be open to, emergency planes, is that right? Like, so if somebody has a medical emergency at the hospital, they'll have to go to Tingle Guard. That's my first question.
Through you. Essentially, yes, the airport would be closed for all those days, same as it was for other years. And medevac is still available through Orange, through helicopters, and the airport in Earlham is absolutely accessible.
Okay, so my concern there is liability, but the second is there any sense of the damage that's done to the runway? Like, what is the cost to the town? Like, is there damage done? And that would have to be fixed right before airports could, or airplanes can land again.
To Councilor Dykens, the damage to the asphalt runway is very, very minimal. And it does not require a lot of work to get that runway back up and running for aviation, because the damage is superficial.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ranger.
To you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure if you can answer this or if it goes to economic development, but I think the report would probably satisfy what I'm looking for, is that the process doesn't get siloed with just the works department, because it will be for us all about Matt, and I would want to ensure that the other departments that need to support that event and activity for those 2 weekends are part of that process. I understand from a logistical point of view, it's great to just check off the box, get the contract signed or the agreement done, but I just wouldn't want it to get missed by other departments that may be able to support or engage or contribute to the success of that. So when it comes here, it kind of gets flagged by the other departments. So I would just want to make sure that other departments are aware when it's official, like, yes, it's going to be on the state and we've signed an agreement.
Thank you for that. Madam Clerk wishes to speak on this matter.
Okay, so through you, Madam Mayor, I will speak on behalf. So we have another policy that we have events like this to have to abide by, which is our special events policy. So it's actually not at council that the departments would be identified with the events. It's actually through the notification from the clerk's office for the AGCO special occasion permit. So every director circulated a notice to give comments on whether or not there are some concerns with the beer tent in accordance with the law, economic development when it comes to the building department and occupancy and washroom facilities, all those kinds of things. So the staff would always annually, it's part of the annual process of the SOP through the facilities use agreement. So staff are always aware, and it's built in that we would advise council of those dates as they're received by the Public Works Director as well.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else before I acknowledge Councillor Owen to speak second time? Okay, Councillor Owen.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. In terms of medevac, that's a legitimate concern, but I don't think we should overplay it, because for one, we have a heliport. And if the helicopter can't fly, it takes approximately a half hour for the fixed wing plane to get from Sudbury to Burlington or Kirkland Lake. In that half hour, instead of sitting in a merge or sitting in an ambulance waiting for the plane to come in, that person can be transported to Burlington Airport. And the efficiency in terms of how soon that patient gets to Sudbury is the same either way. So yeah, I understand the public concern about it. There may be other factors that I don't know, but the hospital should be notified that the airport is not available for medevac, so that they can do what they have to do on their end. But in terms of getting the person to the emergency treatment, the timing is pretty much the same either way. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, I'd be concerned too. I mean, that's why I looked into it.
Okay, anything further on the motion on the floor? Nothing further? Do we need the motion read again for clarity? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 6.5, request to extend 2024-2025 winter ice season, moved by Councilor Ranger, seconded by Councilor Owens.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 CS 001 entitled request to extend 2024-2025 winter ice season be received, and that council authorizes the Director of Community Services to extend the ice season into April 2025 at the Joe Mavernack Community Complex based on user group requests, provided that the rental revenues offset the operational costs to a break-even point or result in an additional expenditure of no more than $1,000. And finally, the council approved that the estimated sum of either $359.80 or $927.16 associated with extending the 2024-2025 ice season be included within the community services portion of the town's 2025 operating budget.
Okay, we will welcome Dan to present. Thank you. I'm glad I looked up.
Good evening, through you, Madam Mayor, to the rest of council. Tonight I'm presenting the report on behalf of the Director of Community Services, but any questions from the report can be directed to the Director, as she will be joining us via Zoom.
Yeah, she's with us.
Before you is a formal request from KLMHA that delegated earlier this evening, requesting extension to the ice availability in the report either April 16th or the 27th. From their delegation, I'm thinking we're at the 27th mark. This comes with a commitment of hours that you saw in the financial considerations. It's important to note, as was earlier discussed, that the ice plant was slated to be shut down for April 7th. So this would be an extension past that current state. Further to note, for context, council has been approached and approved extended ice seasons in the past, as earlier was noted as well, until April 19th in 2018, and again in 2024, as noted in the report. So that we are looking at an additional 20 days roughly of extended ice time. As was stated in the delegation earlier tonight, of its benefits for not only KLMHA, but for the greater good of the community and youth utilizing the services at the complex, that it would be considered. There are obviously decisions for yourselves in alternatives to these measures. But we've applied them earlier in the delegation. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to pass them over to the Director. Thank you.
For that, Councillor Owens and then Councillor Dykens.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. There's two parts to my question. First one, anybody that works in the public education system in Kirkland Lake knows the importance of hockey in Kirkland Lake. Kids miss every second Friday. Kids are late in the morning because they have practice in Lisker. They sell you hockey tickets. It makes no sense to me that the community that is one of the best known community for hockey has the shortest ice season in this area. Makes no sense. The plan's been updated. It doesn't cost as much to me. The shoulder ice thing should just be, that policy should be reviewed to the point where, okay, we just do like municipalities around us and offer our citizens the same opportunities to be able to put that Kirkland Lake name forward. So I'm in favor of this. This needs to go through till date on April 27th. However, last year, we extended the season. At one point, I get a call from some hockey parents saying that we can't have the arena at a certain date because, yes, you extended the season, but there's no staff available to work that weekend. So when we extended the season, the schedule for operators was not adjusted accordingly. So yes, we extended the season, but the arena was not available for, I can't remember if it's 2-3 days near or around the Easter holiday. And that made no sense, that we would change something here, but it didn't follow through. So is staff gonna be available till the 27th, Director?
Director Clockers, are you on the call?
Yes.
She did mention she might be coming through. Walking this time, so she might be in the dead zone.
So we're just gonna
Yeah.
shout that for a
Yeah,
moment
that's
and then
okay.
we'll move on and we'll come
Yeah,
back to
sounds
it
good.
if she's able to join us. Thank you for that. Am I hearing that you would like to make a motion for a change or should we shelf that? as well?
Yes, you heard correctly.
Thank you. Counselor Owen, no, sorry, Counselor Dykens first and then Counselor Owen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Woods for that. Yeah, I fully support us doing this more permanently. And also the issue about not being able to rent the ice because there wasn't staff there. But my question is to the director or the director. It's just for clarity, there's probably a very simple answer. It says that council approved the estimated sum of either $359.80 or $927.16. I see one goes from April 7th to 16th and April 7th to 27th, but their request was to the 27th, right? So is that correct?
Yep, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dykens. In the report, that was before you was listed 2 different dates. The monetary value was for the 27th date.
The 9/27.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm 100% for it, I just wanted clarity, thank you.
Thank you for that. Counselor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship, a couple things. When a family member of mine was an operator at the complex, he didn't lose his job when the ice went out. So I don't understand this issue that is being brought forward that no operator was available. I thought the issue was there was no operator. Okay, I misunderstood. Okay, I would like to see some accounting for the extended period. I find $1,000 to be quite low. I hope that's right, but I would like to see actual numbers on that. Because even when the ice is not being used, there is a cost. Yeah.
1%. That would be part of that. In the report.
Oh, in the report, sorry, I thought it was. So that is in the report as well, sorry.
Okay.
I was looking for the motion as well. I only print out the agenda.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad,
Sorry, yes.
my
So
bad
that-
twice.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Absolutely, we all have.
If it's the will of council to want to have staff and investigate that, they need to bring in an
A motion.
amendment.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Counselor Owen,
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just want to clarify, it's not that the operator lost his job or well, his job in this case, it's that they hadn't scheduled an operator. The operator was available, it's just that when whoever makes the schedule did not somehow, I don't know, that's operations, so I'm not gonna assume too much or go down that road too much, have my hands slapped. But some schedule wasn't made properly, and those days, nobody wanted to come instead of, so that what the issue was on that one. So if we're gonna extend the season, we've got to make sure that we're open.
So what I've heard from the table is there are amendments that are floating out there that probably should be spoken to. Councillor Owens.
Through my mayor, so I've heard the discussion, I think it's time that this policy be reviewed and that Kirkland Lake does offer proper shoulder ice season like any other community around us. We've got the math right here. How much it cost us projected, the numbers are there, it's very clear in the offset, and there hopefully will be more offset by staying open longer. So I'd like to propose a motion that
To extend.
to permanently, to revoke which the said policy from.
Bylaw.
It's a resolution.
So, okay, so revoke bylaw number.
No,
Resolution.
Resolution number, whatever it was, and to extend the season.
It would be the decision of council from 2017, sorry, Madam.
Yep, no, clarification, yeah.
Yeah,
To revoke the decision from 2017, I don't know the meeting date, but I did see it today, was looking for something else.
somewhere, yeah, it's in the report somewhere. I saw it, but I don't remember, it got passed in 17 and adopted in 18.
To allow for,
July 17th.
July
July.
24th, 2018, a motion was passed directing.
July 20,
July 24th, 2018
yeah,
was the motion.
okay. And what did the motion say, sorry, can I have you?
Directing the former community services director to close the ice season, for the month of April, beginning in 2019.
The month of April, moving forward. So do we want an amendment to this? This motion, so this will mean this will be changed and this will be changed, and I'll need a seconder.
Councillor Dykens is adamantly, yeah,
Fully support this
Absolutely.
investment.
yeah, that is
So I'll read
brilliant.
that the original motion be amended, so prior to the end, finally that paragraph. And paragraph included, to identify, to revoke the decision of council made on July 24th, 2018, and to allow for the ice season to remain in the month of April moving forward. Just to that motion.
Yes, yes, okay, so now, any comments just to that change? Councillor Reid.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the need for the extended ice time is very specific to the reinstatement of rep hockey. So it wasn't that it was needed in 2019, it was once there was a resurrection of rep hockey to have these tryouts. Because House League doesn't have tryouts, so it's not that it was a bad decision on previous council to look financially, but I will like to make the comment also that there's other opportunities for use of that ice time extended into April, and I hope that other maybe less formal leagues, i.e. the men's senior leagues, take advantage of this, and that it'll help generate and help support the costs that are gonna be involved in this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next week, director will be calling in shortly. She's trying different
Okay,
number.
okay. Okay, so we are expecting the director momentarily, so we'll just bear with us.
She needs the number or,
She needs the number.
Senator.
yes.
So any other comments about the amendment on the floor? I think this is something that definitely all members of council can get behind. It's kind of a no-brainer at this point. So we're just waiting. Can I just see your paper for a second, please?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's small.
okay, yeah. No. That's the other one.
No, that's the one from the report.
Yeah. Just clarification. I just sent it to her. So we do apologize, folks, but it's important that we get the input from the director. We can take we can take a recess for the next couple of moments, take 5 minutes recess until we can get a handle on this. Thank you, everyone. We are now reconvening after our break. We do have the Director of Community Services, Kim Clockers, available with us. Yes.
Good evening,
So-
Council. I do apologize as I wasn't able to clearly hear all of the questions, but the one question that Councillor Owens in regards to the scheduling of the operators should not be a concern this year. We don't intend on changing the schedule. The operators do have a different schedule in the winter months when the ice is in and in the off season. So we plan on continuing with their regular ice season schedule for the month of April.
Thank you for that clarification. Any,
No, there was a question about.
frosting. Okay, Councillor Owens, question for the director?
Yes, through you, your worship. Now that you're continuing the operator's schedule, does that mean the cost per hour will go up? Because previously your operators weren't available because they were off or doing something else?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Owen. The price will not change. We will be using our regular user fee pricing for all of the ice rentals that will occur in April. Basically, there are other priorities, and unfortunately, I haven't experienced one of the kind of, I guess, shoulder season regardless in terms of what the priorities of the operators are. But based on their collective agreement, they are required to work a certain amount of hours a week. So it will, there won't be any changes to fees for the public.
Follow up?
Yeah, through you, your worship. But I was referring to our costs. Like, are they going to be
Yes, sir.
full-time at the arena and their hours are charged back to the arena as opposed to being charged to parks?
No. So this will all be absorbed within the budget. This will not be an increase in our operating budget for to keep the shoulder season in. The prices that I did provide in the charts in the report are direct costs. So that is the cost for hydro to keep the plant running, propane for the Olympia, and water as well for the flooding. And that's unrelated to staff time, but the town will not incur any additional staffing costs for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further for the director before we let her go? Yes, nothing further. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're back to the amendment on the floor. I believe every council member had the opportunity to speak to that amendment. And now, because of the confusion, I will have Madam Clerk reread that motion as amended.
Certainly. Okay, so amendment number 1 on the floor, moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Dolly Dykens. That the resolution be amended to revoke the decision of the council from July 24, 2018 to allow for the ice season to remain in the month of April moving forward.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? None noted, carried unanimous. Thank you. Now returning, yeah. Now, yes, now returning, do we require a rereading? Hey, sorry, Madam Clerk, there has been a request for a rereading.
Okay. If I may, through you, Madam Mayor, to all council, now that the amendment has passed.
Yep.
There is a section of the resolution that really doesn't make sense anymore, which is.
Redundant, yeah.
Which is the first paragraph. I would recommend that it be removed. If it's the pleasure of council to have a mover and seconder to have that removed.
So moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
And if you want to call for the vote on that.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? So that has now been removed.
Okay, so as amended, I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that report number 2025 CS 001 entitled request to extend 2024-2025 winter ice season be received. And that the resolution be amended to revoke the decision from the council decision from July 24th, 2018 to allow for the ice season to remain in the month of April moving forward. And finally, that council approved the estimated sum of either $359.80 or $927.16 associated with extending the 2024 or 2025 ice season be included within the community services portion of the town's 2025 operating budget.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted, item carried unanimous. Thank you, everyone. No. Item number 7, consideration of notices of motion. We do have item 7.1, 7.2, which will be deferred. I will ask acting Mayor Ranger to take the chair for the next 2.
No, sure.
No, it would be Lad. Lad, are you able to take the chair remotely? Thank you for.
Oh, he's muted.
Goodness, Tom.
And a nice.
Okay. Let me know when to start, Madam Clerk.
So, yes, so you can take over chair now. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 7.3, Mayor Stacy White, Safer Highways, MPP John Vantoff, updated Northern Plan for Highway Safety. The recommendation, do I need to read that, or Madam Clerk, that's for you to read?
Sorry, it was seconded by Councilor Owens.
And the other one as well. Okay,
Sorry.
moved by Mayor Stacy White, seconded by Councilor Owens. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake support John Vantoff, MPP Timiskaming Crawford's updated Northern Plan for Highway Safety as attached.
Okay, Mayor Stacy White, can you speak to this motion, please?
Thank you, Acting Chair. So this is pretty well a common sense plan that was presented by John Vantoff. And this should be a nonpartisan issue. Regardless of political affiliation, we should all want all the people of Ontario who travel these highways to be safe. So during the recent campaign trail, the Premier made promises, and by supporting this motion, we're saying it's time to deliver for the North. So if there's, if nobody did get to review it, the highlights are to have all new drivers tested through MTO, not their employers or third-party private schools. Midterm goals include have the MTO take over the management of the maintenance of operations in the province. Snow tires should be made mandatory for all passenger vehicles. More MTO enforcement officers need to be on the road to enforce the rules, and the scales should be open daily. Promised highway upgrades need to be expedited so that we aren't waiting for years for the rest of the 2+1 pilot project. And long-term highways 11 and 17 need to be updated to to 4 lanes where possible. So those are pretty common sense things to make us all safer.
Thank you very much. May I have the seconder speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Acting Chair. Mayor said it quite well. It's no secret Highway 11 becomes dangerous in a snow condition, and not to foresee the future, but I can predict that tomorrow will be a challenging day on Highway 11 and 417. So it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other councilors want to weigh in on this?
Counselor Rick Owen has his hand up, Counselor Shabbat.
Okay, Councilor Rick Owen, carry on, please.
Yes, through you, Acting Chair. This is an issue that's very close to my heart. Around Christmas, my 8-year-old and 4-year-old grandsons were in a vehicle that was involved in a head-on collision on Highway 11, just north of North Bay. It was a fatal collision. They are still feeling the trauma from that experience. I do not know the details of that accident, but it was in an area of the highway where there have been many similar accidents. For the 8-year-old, that's the second time he's been involved in a major accident in that area. The first time he was just a baby, and the official cause of the accident was black ice. So John Vantoff has championed these issues ever since he was elected, and he has stuck to his guns. He recently made a presentation to the Temiskaming Municipal Association, where he said they have narrowed down their requests. This is the new approach they're doing, feeling that if they ask for less, they have a better chance of getting more. And one of the things that came up at that meeting was one of the people in the room who has a son who has his whatever, AZ, DZ, whatever, anyways, to drive transports. His father told him, write the air brake exam and try and fail. And so the kid did, and he still passed. So that was an eye-opener for me to hear John say that. The other thing is, it came up that there are several places where you just have to have $7,000 or $8,000 or $15,000, and you're handed the license to go out and drive a transport truck. You basically be given a weapon to kill. And that's why the examinations have to go back to the drive safe locations, which are operated at arm's length by the government. Because right now there's too many transports on the road that they've never been trained to drive in snow or icy conditions. Now, having said that, there's a lot more safe transport drivers out there than dangerous ones. But with the size of the transport, you don't need many on the highway before you see the deaths that we see in the north. So I very, very strongly support this motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Madam Clerk, can you help me out here?
Does not appear so.
Okay, just before we call the question, I'd like to add that some of us coming down here on Friday, just to stress the point of accident on the road. Some of us south of Temagami, big accident on the road that we were on that road was almost for an hour or some change, just to get back to get on our way back to Toronto. Another information that really stunned me, I have a friend of mine that drove for many, many years. I drove a transport truck for many, many years, and I asked him, the transport truck drivers, those trucks, do they have winter tires like we all do? He said no, that they don't have winter tires. I mean, that lies the problem. These guys are driving in winter conditions, northern road condition, and no winter tires. That's something that the government should look into, because we have winter tires to ensure our safety, but they should also have winter tires to ensure the safety of others. So that's it for me. Madam Clerk, can you read the question again? Or does not, people are okay, or I can call the question.
Is everybody for the question? Everybody's okay for the question?
Okay, all in favor of the motion as presented? Okay, anybody against? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. The next one is by Mayor Stacy White. 7.4, support for Canadian and Ontario government negotiation with US government on trade tariffs. Very timely. And this is, do I read it right? Yeah, EOWC support of CA and Ontario government negotiation with USA Ontario. Yes, recommendation that the Council for the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake support the resolution from the Eastern Ontario Warden Caucus, AOWC, supporting the senior levels of Canadian government to negotiate with the government of the United States of America on trade tariffs as attached. Can you read the motion, please, Madam Clerk?
I will identify that it was moved by Mayor Stacy White and seconded by Councillor Casey Owens, as you just read the motion.
Okay, good, yeah. Sorry to do your job. Mayor Stacy White, can you speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Acting Chair. Though certain tariffs are already in place as of today, it is important for municipalities across Ontario to add our voices, our strength, and to get behind both our federal and provincial leaders. As per statements from Prime Minister Trudeau today and Premier Doug Ford, we didn't start this trade war with President Trump, but we will not back down from a fight, not when our country is at stake. I ask all members at this table to support the motion to respond to these tariffs moving forward. I don't know if I have to really give any details. It was all in the motion that is circulated.
Right, can I have the seconder speak to the motion, please?
Acting Chair, I think this one speaks for itself. It's common sense. It should be Canada first, and we should fight for our rights or fight for our country.
Okay, any other council members want to speak to this motion?
It's not appear so.
Okay, just to add that we had a lot of ministers yesterday coming to the Northern Ontario mining showcase, and Minister Vic Fideli came over to say hello to me, and that was around noonish or so. I guess that was the time that the announcement came down. Believe me, and he looked at his phone himself, the stock market is down. So the government is really petrified about this. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very glad that the Ontario government is doing something anyways. Well, we hope all ends well, because this is going to have a significant impact on the economy of not only Ontario, but the rest of the country. So I'm going to call the questions. All in favor of this motion? Anybody against? I haven't seen none. The motion is hereby carried. Thank you. Back to the chair, the mayor.
Yes, thank you, Acting Chair. Shaba, I do appreciate that, and I do apologize. I forgot that it is now the month of March. Item number 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. Bylaw number 8.1, bylaw number 25-010. May I have a mover? Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Councillor Owens.
Owens, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Sometimes I can't hear. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2510, being a bylaw to regulate the time, manner, and nature of the use of the supply of water in the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. May I have a mover? Councillor Owen, and seconded by Councillor Ranger. Okay.
Be it resolved that council received a response from administration to the above noted question for information.
Thank you. So the Counselor Shava had, prior to council, put in a question, are there any previous traffic studies, OPP, RMS data, and comments from the Temiskaming Road Safety Coalition regarding intersection of Taylor Avenue, Prospect Avenue, O'Meara Boulevard, and Brookbank Avenue? So we will have Director Fortney speak to this matter.
Through you to Councillor Shaba. When the motion was originally presented, there was discussion at the table regarding a stop sign that was allegedly moved from O'Meara Boulevard to Prospect Avenue. As a result, we were asked to locate a study that recommended this change. After reviewing the matter and the files, it appears that no stop sign was ever located on O'Meara Boulevard. The stop sign seems to have always been on Prospect Avenue. We did find a photograph from 2009, which is the photograph that's on screen right now, that appears to confirms this. However, it also shows that the stop sign was in a slightly different location than it is today. At that time, a large boulevard and a planter box existed next to the Bellevue Tavern, and the stop sign was positioned adjacent to that boulevard, further away from the building. When the boulevard and the planter box were removed in 2017, the stop sign was relocated much closer to the Bellevue Tavern. We believe that the removal of the boulevard may have contributed to the current challenges at this intersection. Because the initial request was to determine how many accidents occurred at this intersection since the stop sign was moved from O'Meara to Prospect, a move that never actually happened, no data has been requested from the OPP at this time. Similarly, due to the confusion surrounding the matter, we did not reach out to the Road Safety Coalition as it was deemed premature. While their input could certainly be valuable, it is already the opinion of the Public Works Department that the existing conditions at this intersection warrant an engineering review to determine how safety can be enhanced. Given the findings, reinstatement of the boulevard next to the Bellevue Tavern may be one option worth considering. I hope I've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Shava, because it was your question, I will give you the opportunity to answer the director. Does this satisfy your question?
Yes, it does, and I really don't have anything to add.
Thank you for that. Thank you for submitting the question prior to council. Does any other council member have any input on this matter? Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. I guess I can say this. I had a meeting with the CAO and Stefan today. And I'm glad that you did the research because my memory had forgotten all about that boulevard. I know I have a deferred motion concerning this intersection. I am going to, with the CAO's permission, rewrite that motion in conjunction with the director, because the facts have changed, things have changed. And my original motion does, with the additional information, my original motion doesn't really meet what I was looking for.
Yep.
So, thank you.
For that. Anything further from members of council? Okay, all in favor of accepting? Opposed? None noted. Thank you very much, sir. That was unanimous. Item number 10, notices of motion. Councillor Shava, I believe you have one as well.
Yes, I have one. This will be naming of street request from Mr. Gordon Hamden.
Thank you for that.
Just want to clarify with the council, I think it's the Swastika Street renaming request.
Sorry, just a point of clarification from the clerk's office. Is it specifically that Swastika Road?
No, it's.
No, I
it's-
think the request was Chapious.
You thought it was in Chapious?
Sorry, it isn't Chapious.
It is in Chapious. Thank you for the
Yes.
clarification. You. Any notices of motion from other members of council? None noted. Thank you. Item number 11, councilors' reports. Does anybody have any information to share about committees that they've attended or they've sat on, activities in the community that they want to make the public aware of? Councilor Owen?
Just through you, your worship, I recently, last week, attended the DSAB meeting, during which the director of paramedics, and that may not be her official title, but she's the boss of the paramedics, gave a report. The province sets out requirements that they answer certain calls, depending on the severity, within a certain amount of minutes. And that system really doesn't work for Kirkland Lake. Because you have a paramedic station in Kirkland Lake, you can't get to Matachewan in 5 minutes. So the stats that she presented, and they are public record, don't really reflect the efficiency of the operation. I mean, even within town, there's the one section that the most severe injury or illness. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get out the good fish in that, with the sand roads and that. You might be able to get the Swastika back. So this is something apparently that the province is going to look into, because it's not a fair evaluation of our paramedics. And quite frankly, their stats were good considering the distances that they have to travel. She also reported that they've scrapped 2 end-of-life ambulances. I think we should have had a burial service for them, but apparently they just took off the parts that were usable for us or usable. Some of the area fire departments wanted parts off them. Neither one of these ambulances were really suited for repurposing, and they will be sold on a government auction site. What I found really interesting was that during the course of discussing disposing of vehicles, she reported that their fleet management program had just received a update. What do you call it when the computer is updated? Anyways, what that allows them to do is to calculate the expense per kilometer for each of their vehicles. And she said that will make it a lot easier when they come to determining which vehicles should be disposed of and which shouldn't. Because sometimes, as we all know, you can have a 2023 vehicle and it's cost you an arm and a leg in repairs. And you can have a 2020 vehicle and it's cost you gas and oil changes. So hopefully, my hope is that Kirkland Lake will eventually get a fleet management program that can do that as well, because that saves a lot of expense in the long run. And I will hopefully bring the 2 motions to next meeting that I deferred. I am currently with agreement from the CAO and from the director, embarking on some more research into what may be the best solutions. And hopefully I will have that done before the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Kirkland Lake as a municipality often gets a lot of criticism for everything we do that according to everybody, we don't do right, and that there's always a better way of doing things, and we're not gonna be able to change that. But on the weekend, I think we're all aware of the major incident Sunday night, and our fire department is one of those departments for the town that gets a lot of criticism for the fact that they cost us a lot of money, and Kirkland doesn't need a full-time fire department. It's always that age-old question, and once you started reading literature, we know why we have them and why we need them. So I wanna take this opportunity to thank our men and women of the Kirkland Fire Services that did an outstanding job Sunday night. I was convinced when I heard the rumors started going around 2 fires at the same time when I looked outside the column of smoke. I was sure that we had mutual aid, somebody came to give us a hand, because there's no way that we can, in our own department with 3 fire trucks, do what these guys, the men and women did. And no, it was the town of Kirkland Fire Services with our volunteers and our 3 vehicles that managed to not only save the one building, but save the houses next to them. And also physical services that put up the roadblocks to keep nosy people away and control traffic and make sure that nobody slipped on ice or lost control on ice. So just, it's one of those moments where even though people don't always think the town knows what they're doing, that the town of Kirkland does know a bit about running a municipality and the fire service.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Okay, so Planet Youth Steering Committee meeting. We did discuss the Youth Activity Fund, which closed on the 2nd of this month. The fund will support projects that increase accessibility, availability, or diversity of leisure time activities and foster youth sense of belonging and connections to the community. As well as the Parent Cafe training offered March 18th to the 19th, and you can still register from what I understand, to learn simple, effective ways to bring parents together for real conversations. And you can go to the Planet Youth website to learn more about that. One more thing to note about this meeting, it was stated that after the initial data analysis for our area, there is an absolute link between protective factors like strong family and community support and lower substance abuse in youth. Strengthening these protective factors can help reduce the likelihood of our kids even using substances. And a reminder that the next survey for the grade 10s will be done, grade 10s and 11s will be done in October of November 2025. So we're already turning around to the 2nd phase. Agnico Eagle held an open meeting regarding the virtual public info and advisory committee creation session on February 19th, during which the site layout, planned work for 2025, and the creation of the advisory committee for the Upper Beaver project was discussed. During this month's Tech Centennial Library meeting, CAO Cheryl Lafreniere reported 2,232 unique visits to the library during the month of January alone. She submitted an application to the Young Canada Works Canada Council of Archives Division for funding towards a summer student placement. If successful, the grant will cover 75% of wages for that position. Also of note, the draft budget was discussed. Originally, the budget began at a 12% increase for the library, and which equals to approximately $40,000 in change. But after meetings with the Town of Kirkland Lake CEO, she was encouraged to decrease that number, and she presented a budget with only a 4% increase, which is approximately $13,000 in change over last year, which was unanimously accepted by the Tech Centennial Library Board. I have received quite a few concerns from members of the public regarding health and safety issues on Government Road as it applies to snow removal and parking. And barring any craziness that will be happening, definitely you can see the work in that department today. Definitely kudos to that department after all those challenges getting it done. So congratulations to them. I met with Mark Stewart, DSAB regarding housing in Kirkland Lake and the housing needs report. I want to commend the board of DSAB, Mr. Stewart, and his staff on the physical improvements I've seen at 25 Tweedsmuir over the last 6 months. A new elevator has been installed, repairs to ceiling tiles have been completed, and fresh coats of paint have been started. I hope the town of Kirkland Lake has the same success with our capital improvements proposed in the areas of beautification. Our surroundings really do have a profound effect on our mental health, and I appreciate the efforts that I've seen at a DSAB. As per other council members, I want to reiterate how impressive our local fire department is. Their record for saving adjacent buildings in an older community where homes are built too close together is unmatched. And I am thankful for their efforts on Sunday evening, where they were fighting the two fires at the same time. Not only are they exceptional at fighting fires, but from time to time, I do get to see them interact with community members. And I have to say, the amount of compassion and professionalism I see out of the women and men of that department is really exemplary when we think of exceptional service. So congratulations to them on yet another job well done. Lastly, I do want to congratulate the KL Swamp Donkeys on their first place finishes in both the U19 girls at the Brantford CYO tournament and the U17 boys at the York South Silver Knights tournament. To the coaching team and especially the players, you bring great pride to this community. So congratulations once again. Thank you for that. May I have a mover to accept the reports? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. There is no information, additional information this evening, and we'll now, because we took an earlier break, we'll just take a break for about 5 minutes. Okay, folks? Thank you. Okay. Okay, we're now coming back from recess to move into closed session. May I have a mover? Councillor Dykens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that council adjourn in camera pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons or organization, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board at 7:09 PM for the following reasons. Item 13.1, 2026 municipal elections, method of vote, information technology. Item 13.2, direction and delegation of authority for collective bargaining, ONA Local 250.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. We'll now reconvene to open session. May I have a mover? Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 7:41 PM.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Item carried unanimous. The item number 14, matters from closed session. There are none this evening. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw number 25-011, moved by Councillor Dykens, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that council, that the following bylaw be read, number passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk of the Silver Corporation. Be affixed thereto, bylaw number 2511, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. I have a mover for adjournment, Councillor Dykens. Thank you very much. One and all.